Welcome back or welcome to CrimePod Chronicles. I'm Mike.
And I'm Tori, and we're so excited to dive into another, a true crime, but also a true mystery. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
Oh, absolutely, Tori. Today we're not just looking at a crime per se, but more of a treasure hunt gone incredibly wrong, or at least incredibly mysterious. It's a story that truly blends old school folklore with a very modern day federal investigation.
Yeah, it's one of those cases that just keeps you guessing, like what really happened. We're heading to Dents Run, Pennsylvania today, and let me tell you, it's got everything. Hidden treasure, accusations of government secrecy, and just a whole lot of unanswered questions.
A whole lot. It's truly fascinating. So get ready because we're about to unravel a tale that, well, it might just make you question everything you thought you knew about lost gold and government transparency. Okay, so to really set the stage for this one, we have to go back in time, way back.
Yeah, we're talking Civil War era, folks. We're talking 1863, roughly. So the whole legend, the whole story around this mystery, it centers on a supposed lost shipment of Union gold. Yeah, I mean, it's believed, or, the rumor is that it just vanished near Dents Run, Pennsylvania. And when we say gold, we're not talking a couple of nuggets here and there. This tale involves 26 gold bars, but the rumor is that it was much more gold than that.
Supposedly up to 9 tons.
Wow.
9 tons. That's a lot of gold. And these weren't just, random gold bars. These were apparently destined for the U.S. Mint, specifically in Philadelphia. So very official business.
Right? But the legend goes it was either lost or stolen en route. They just poof vanished, which sounds pretty dramatic.
It does. And this is where it gets a little hazy because despite all the dramatic flair of the story, there are actually no credible military or historical records that confirm this event ever even happened.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Because you'd think if 9 tons of gold bars went missing, especially from a government shipment during a war, there'd be some paper trail,
You would. And academics, obviously, they're pretty skeptical about this. Show us the proof. But Tori, despite that skepticism, this mystery, this legend, it has just totally persisted. It's become a core piece of regional folklore in that area.
Absolutely. It's like people there, they just know this story. It's passed down through generations. And I think that's what makes this case so fascinating because you have this deep-rooted, almost mythical tale, and then suddenly modern technology comes into play and something gets found.
And that's exactly where our main characters, for this part of the story anyway, come in. We're talking about Dennis and Kem Parada. They're bona fide treasure hunters.
Yeah, they have this company, right? It's called Finders Keepers.
Very apt name, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys, they were just, dabbling. They spent years investigating this Dents Run area, really committed to finding something.
Years, story. Not just a weekend trip. This was their life's work for a while, And they weren't just walking around with a simple metal detector you buy at a toy store.
No. We're talking sophisticated, serious metal detection equipment, the kind that can actually tell you if there's something big lurking beneath the surface.
And in 2018, that's exactly what they believed they found. They detected this massive metallic anomaly underground, a huge, something.
Yeah, something big. And here's the thing, Tori, they didn't just dig it up themselves. They actually brought their findings to the FBI.
Which, makes sense, right? If you find something that could be this valuable and it's on public land, I guess, you'd go to the authorities. They were probably hoping to get a share too, if anything was actually discovered.
Oh, absolutely. That's always the hope with treasure huntings. But the FBI, they didn't just take their word for it, obviously. They hired an independent company called EnviroScan.
EnviroScan. So these guys, they come in with even more advanced equipment, right? They conduct their own scans of the area.
And their findings? Their findings were pretty astonishing. I mean, the scans indicated that there was a buried object, right? And it had the mass and density of gold.
Of gold, and not just a little bit of gold. We're talking
potentially up to 9 tons of gold. Can you even imagine that, Mike? 9 tons. That's like something out of a movie.
It is. I mean, that's an incredible amount of weight, an incredible amount of value. So you can see how this, from a folktale, now suddenly becomes a very real, very tangible prospect. And that's when things really, really ramped up.
So things ramp up. The FBI's involved now. They have these scans confirming something massive, potentially 9 tons of gold. What happens next? Do they just swoop in and dig it up?
Well, yeah, pretty much. In March 2018, the FBI actually did secure a court order, and they went in there to the Dents Run site and conducted a 2-day dig.
Okay, so they're on site, they're digging. That sounds promising, right? Like they're finally going to find it.
You'd think so, but here's where it gets really, really shady, Tori. Remember Dennis and Kem Parada, the guys who found the anomaly and brought it to the FBI?
Of course, finders keepers.
Exactly. The FBI had actually promised them initially that they'd be able to observe the dig. They were the ones who found it. They had invested so much time.
That makes sense. They should be there.
But guess what? The night before the excavation was supposed to start, that promise was just revoked. The Paradas were completely excluded from observing the dig.
What? So they're just shut out after all that work? That is incredibly suspicious. Why would you do that unless you didn't want them to see something?
Exactly what the Paradas and many others thought. And this is where things get even crazier, Tori, because an NBC article later revealed some truly wild stuff based on local residents and witness accounts.
Oh boy. Here we go. Tell me.
So the FBI's official story was, they did their 2-day gig, found nothing, packed up, went home. But local residents and witnesses tell a different tale. They claim the FBI actually returned to the site late at night with heavy equipment.
At night? With heavy equipment? Why would they do that if the official dig was over and they found nothing?
That's the million-dollar question, or multi-million-dollar question. And it gets better. A nearby neighbor reported hearing machinery and voices in the early morning hours. We're talking 2 a.m., and even saw lights in the woods where the FBI had supposedly been digging.
2 a.m? That's not just a quick check-in. That's a full-on operation under the cover of darkness.
Precisely. And this led the Paradas to believe pretty strongly that the FBI might have used the night to secretly extract the gold after pretending to find nothing during the official daytime dig.
Oh, man, that's a full-blown conspiracy theory right there. But it makes sense, doesn't it, given everything?
It absolutely does. And to top it all off, there's this incredible alleged statement. An FBI agent apparently told a local state official, quote, "We found the gold."
Wait, what? An FBI agent said we found the gold?
That's what was alleged. Now, of course, the agency later tried to walk that back, claiming it was either, a joke or a misstatement. But you gotta wonder, right, in the heat of the moment or just, a slip of the tongue, that's not a joke you make, not when you're the FBI and you're digging for missing Civil War gold. That's too big of a joke. That really pours fuel on the fire for these secrecy claims.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not a casual oopsie joke. It's too specific, and it really just adds another layer to this whole, cloak and dagger vibe they've got going on.
So after all this, the secret night digging, the alleged "we found the gold" slip, what did the Paradas do? They must have been furious and desperate for answers.
They absolutely were. And this is where they decided to take a different route. They filed a Freedom of Information Act request, a FOIA, trying to get actual official documents and records from the FBI about this whole dig.
That's smart. That's the official way to get transparency from the government, right? So what did the FBI say? Did they just hand everything over?
Oh, no, Tori, not at all. Their initial response to the FOIA request was, get this, They claim they had no records of the Dents Run dig.
No records? Mike, they conducted a 2-day excavation, secured a court order, used heavy equipment, had agents on site, had scans indicating tons of gold, and they had no records? That's insulting, frankly.
I know. It's beyond belief. And of course, the Paradas weren't just going to accept that. So, a massive legal battle followed. This wasn't just like a quick email exchange. This was a full-on court fight to get this information.
So they really pushed back. And did it work? Did the FBI eventually have to, admit they had some records?
They did. Eventually, after all this legal pressure, the FBI actually acknowledged that they had more than 2,400 documents related to the Dent Run dig.
2,400. That's a lot of no records.
A lot of no records indeed. And not just documents. They also admitted to having 17 video files from the site.
Okay, so this is progress, right? At least they're admitting they have something. So did those 17 videos, clear anything up? Did they show what happened?
Well, here's where it gets even more suspicious and honestly really fuels that distrust. They initially acknowledged 17 video files, right?
Yep, 17.
They later revised that number down to just 4 videos.
Hold on, 17 down to 4? Why? What happened to the other 13 videos? Did they just magically disappear? That's not a small correction, Mike. That's a huge red flag.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, we miscounted by 1. It's 13 videos just gone from the record. And this kind of inconsistency, claiming no records, then admitting to thousands, then drastically reducing the number of videos, it just makes you wonder what they're trying to hide. It absolutely fueled massive distrust, not just from the Paradas, but from anyone following the story.
I mean, it's almost like they were trying to, cherry pick what they were going to release. Like, oh, you want transparency? Here's some, but not all of it. That's not transparency at all. It's a managed release. And it makes you think those missing 13 videos or whatever was in those missing documents must have been important.
Right? It really is. It's like they're trying to control the narrative, which when you're talking about something like a potential 9-ton gold find, that's just not going to fly. And this brings us to the core of the problem, the glaring contradictions here.
Yeah, because on one hand, the FBI's official stance is that they found absolutely nothing, just dirt. That's it.
Exactly. Found nothing but dirt, they said. But then you have the initial scans by EnviroScan, remember? The ones that indicated a massive metallic object, like possibly up to 9 tons of something with the density of gold. How do you go from a potential 9-ton mass to just dirt? That doesn't add up.
It really doesn't. And then there's the whole day and night thing, which we just talked about. The FBI says they left after a 2-day dig, right? But witnesses, local residents, they saw them back there at night with heavy equipment, lights, voices in the early hours. So which is it?
Yeah, exactly. And the video count, of course. Initially, 17 videos listed for FOIA. Then, suddenly only 4. It's like, where did the other 13 go? Did they just evaporate? And then you have the agents themselves. Officially, they deny finding anything, right? No treasure here.
But then you have that alleged statement from an FBI agent to a local state official, "We found the gold," which, again, they tried to walk back as a joke or a misstatement, but it's just one more thing that contradicts their official line. It's like so many conflicting pieces of information.
It's almost like they're not telling the full story, Tori, which, is the charitable way to put it. So with all these glaring contradictions, it leaves us with some pretty big unanswered questions, doesn't it? Like, okay, what was really found during that 2018 dig? If it was just dirt, then what on earth did EnviroScan actually detect that prompted this whole thing?
Right. If there was no gold, what was that huge anomaly? And why did the FBI feel the need to operate at night?
in secret? And why do they keep revising their document counts and video numbers? Like, that's just a huge red flag for transparency.
Totally. And another thing that's still, a huge piece of this puzzle is what exactly is in that sealed core affidavit that justified the dig in the first place? Because that's supposed to lay out the evidence that convinced a judge to let them excavate. If they found nothing, what was so compelling in that affidavit?
Yeah, because if it was compelling enough to get a court order, it must have detailed pretty convincing evidence of something being there. And if they didn't find that something, then what was the justification, or was the justification somehow flawed? It just creates so much speculation.
Right? It's also murky, Tori. And honestly, this whole Dents Run saga, it's such a fascinating blend of so many things, isn't it?
Yeah, the legend, but then it collides head-on with modern investigation, like the ground scans, the highly sophisticated equipment, the FOIA requests, the actual legal action. It's not just a story anymore. It became a real-world pursuit.
Exactly. And then woven through all of it is this deep, deep mistrust in government transparency. The alleged secrecy, the shifting statements from the FBI. It just adds this whole other layer of intrigue and, frankly, suspicion.
It absolutely does. I mean, even if you give the FBI the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe no gold was found, which is hard to believe with all the other evidence, their behavior, like the nighttime activity, the sealed affidavits, all the inconsistencies in the data they eventually released, it just continues to fuel speculation. It fuels conspiracy theories.
Oh, completely. It's almost like they created the mystery more than the legend did, Like their actions are what make people question everything. And it leaves us with this lingering feeling of, what are they not telling us?
Precisely. It's such a compelling case of, what happens when folklore meets modern technology and then gets tangled up with government bureaucracy and secrecy. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It truly does, Tori. It's a wild one. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of CrimePod Chronicles. We hope you found this deep dive into the Dents Run gold mystery as intriguing as we did.
We sure did. And we'll be back next time with another captivating true crime story for you all to explore with us. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.
Thanks for tuning in to CrimePod Chronicles. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye for now.